Hi everyone, welcome to my Maple family. I hope you all are doing good. And in today's video, we are going to talk about something very interesting that is all about IELTS listening. As you are aware that most of the students lack their desired band score in listening, here is a video which will help you know all about your listening test in the IELTS exam. So let's get started. So, as you all know, that IELTS listening exam, the test is same for the IELTS general test as well as for IELTS academic. So, the pattern remains the same, the test remains the same, and it is for 30 minutes. First of all, you should know that it is going to be the first and the most important part of your IELTS exam. That means when you enter the IELTS test, examination center, there you would be first given a pair of headphones, and it is suggested that you should first check it properly whether they are working or not. They will also help you and guide you to know that your headphones are working. So once you have checked that your headphones are working, you will have a knob to adjust the volume of your headphone, which you can do according to as per your needs, right? So once you do that, the recording will play for 30 minutes. The exam goes on, the IELTS listening test goes on for 30 minutes. Okay, and the most important part, the audio for your listening test will be played only once. So you need to be very careful while taking your IELTS listening test. Don't think that it would be like how you practice it at home, that you can just go back and listen to it once again. No, that provision is not there. That is the major reason why people do not achieve their desired band usually, because IELTS listening is the most important part of all the four sections, that is IELTS reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So, listening is the most important part. I will tell you why. Okay, so in the further video, I'll explain you how the listening scores matter the most. So, in this video, we are discussing all about IELTS listening, and I am also going to share with you the listening scorecard, where you will understand that how you can score better, or how many corrects will give you how many bands, right? So this is very important. Please watch this video till the end, and do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Okay, so once again, as I just told you that your listening test goes on for 30 minutes. Now some students get confused that do we have to answer the questions there and then? Yes, my dear friends, while you are listening, you will have a question paper in front of you. If I talk about a pen and paper exam, and there, while listening, you need to just tick mark the correct answers, right? But you will get 10 extra minutes to copy those answers to the answer sheet, right? But this doesn't happen in a computer based exam. If you are taking a computer based exam, there you have to click on the answers side by side, and you will not get any option to go back and check your answers. So this is the major difference when you are taking a paper based exam or a computer based exam. That's why I always suggest my students that if they are very much confident while using the computer, then only they should go in for your computer based exams. Otherwise they should choose paper based exam, right? But once you have chosen the paper based exam, there you will get 10 extra minutes to copy your answers. And my dear friends, I would like to tell you that those 10 minutes are of great importance, honestly, because sometimes I think we hardly take 5 minutes to copy the answers, and 5 minutes are still there for you to just revise any question that was left, or that was a little confusing for you. Because sometimes it happens that we listen and then we realize a little later that no, the exact answer wasn't this, and the right answer was maybe the other option, right? So you get those 5 minutes to just think about it and briefly make the corrections quickly, right? So these are very beneficial. That is the reason why most of the students go for paper based exam. Okay, and the second thing that I told you very important is that the audio is played only once. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Nobody can play the audio once again for you because they are conducting the exam at a huge level, right? So they are not going to personalize the exam for you, so that there is no provision of being, playing the audio once again. So please be very careful when you are taking the IELTS listening test. Okay, so let's move ahead and understand that what is the actual format of the exam. Okay, all this information I have gathered from the authentic IELTS sites. If you want to cross check, you must cross check from the authentic sources, right? Don't just go by what the YouTubers are saying or what your friend is telling you. Don't go by that. I always suggest my students to keep on checking, before the exam. You must check the IELTS website to get any important information which you might not have got from any other source, right? So this information also I have got from the authentic IELTS site, but you definitely can check again. Okay, so here it's mentioned that there are four recordings that you are going to listen to, right? And these recordings, friends, are usually being spoken by the native English speakers. In some of my previous videos also, I have told you that IELTS is all about being compared with a native English speaker. Now, what is the meaning of native English speaker is that you are being compared with a person whose first language is English, right? So obviously there would be a huge difference between the way a native speaker speaks English and you, right? So basically that comparison is happening. Now what happens while listening to a native English speaker? This happens often that you are not very used to the pronunciation, the way they talk. So you need to practice for that. If you feel that I am very good at English, I know every bit of it, still you need to listen to different accents, because when I talk about native English speakers, they can be from Canada, they can be from USA, they can be from British, and each country has their own accent, right? So if you will not practice, you won't get the accent of all different types of native speakers. So you must practice before going in for your IELTS test, IELTS listening test in specific, because once you get habitual of listening to the native speakers, then you would not make any mistakes while answering, right? So all four recordings are played in different, accents, but if you will listen to the practice test, you will get to know. The first recording usually is a conversation between two people in a social context. Usually the first conversation is just like I have called a person to inquire about something, right? So the information is being given very directly, and hence there is not much problem for the students to get the answers. They quickly get the answers and they feel very confident that okay, fine, the first part is not so difficult. uh, but as in when you move ahead, you will realize that it starts getting tougher, right? So you need to be a little more careful. Take deep breaths in between your exam. Don't panic. That's one suggestion I give my students all the time, because once you start panicking, then you have just lost it. Okay, so don't panic. Just take deep breaths and keep on listening to the conversations carefully. Now, the second recording, if we talk about, it's a kind of a monologue. When I talk about monologue basically means that one person is speaking continuously, but that too in a social context, right? So it becomes a little difficult for you to understand some of the questions, because the questions are not as simple as we think. They are a little confusing. I will also tell you what sort of questions come in the listening test, but here you just need to know the format right now. Moving ahead to the recording three, it is a conversation between up to four people set in an educational or training context. Example, a university tutor and a student discussing an assignment. Again, friends, as you can just see that things are getting tougher. Now there are four people or maybe three people talking amongst each other. So when they are talking, you will have to answer what person A was saying, then you have to think about what person B was saying, and you have to listen to it very carefully, because the questions can be quite confusing at times. right? And the last part of the conversation is again a monologue on an academic subject, like a lecture, okay, like a lecture that you are listening from a high, high position professor, somebody who is very good at English, and somebody who's using some vocabulary words which would sound new to you. So that is the toughest part, I would say. Many of my students tell me that they couldn't understand what the conversation, what the last monologue was all about, because it is usually related to a specific topic which you might not be aware of. So obviously the vocabulary is also difficult, and hence sometimes students tend to miss out on the important things here. The most of my students face problem with spellings also. They feel that, ma'am, such a word was being spoken, I have never heard about that word, and hence I did not know the spelling of the word. So this is something which you need to understand, and you need to increase your active vocabulary, I always tell to my students. And that is the reason I have started an initiative. I have started an Instagram page with the name of IELTS underscore Maple Family, where I have been sharing vocabulary vibes, all the new vocabulary words that I feel are important and should be there in your active vocabulary. So, if you also want to increase your vocabulary, do not forget to follow me on Instagram with the name of IELTS underscore Maple Family. Right. So, this would, I am not telling you to get all the knowledge at one go, but while we are using social media, many a times we are just wasting our time. So, why not to utilize that, you know, time just by spending a minute to see through a new word and understand how to use it. And this is how you're going to increase your vocabulary. There are different sources, but this is one of the sources which you should see and follow if you like. And you will definitely see a difference, that how your vocabulary is getting enhanced. So okay friends, I just always want my students to keep preparing, not in just by opening their books and sitting for hours and hours together, but while you are doing your social media, you are just relaxing yourself, you can just read a word from here and there and understand the usage, hence increasing your vocabulary. So if you find it useful, then you can go and follow it. Right. Now let's talk about the next part of the listening test, which is, you know how are you marked for your listening test. What will happen if I have 30 correct answers? How many bands am I going to get? So that's very important to understand. So here is a listening chart score. So the scores here, as you can see, correct answers out of 40. As I have already told you that there are 40 questions in all that you need to answer. And here, if you have 39 to 40 right correct answers, then you will get a band 9, which is tough but not impossible. Many students do get a band 9 in listening specifically, because here you don't have to worry whether you know English or your pronunciation is correct or your grammar is correct. You just need to listen, and listen very carefully so that you give the correct answers. And that's a great possibility. It's absolutely possible. Many students score a good band, right? Next is, if you give correct answers around 37 or 38, you will get 8.5. And the maximum students that they aim to get band 8 in listening, that means they need to have 35 to 36 questions correct. So if you have 35 to 36 questions correct, you will score a band 8. You must have heard about the golden score of IELTS, that is 8777, which is actually not a golden score anymore. People are even aiming to get CLB 10, or above 8777 in all the parts of the IELTS exam. When I say 8777, that means you should score 8 bands in IELTS listening, and rest 7 can be in writing, speaking, and your reading exam. You can score 7 bands, right? So if you get that score 8777, then you get a high CRS score for your immigration purpose, and then things get better. But nowadays the competition is so high that people are aiming even to get score above 8777. That means they want to attain 8.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, like this. Okay, so but as I told you, the golden score is 8777, so it's the most important thing to score at least 8 bands in listening. So for that, I am just sharing all the information about the listening test, and also at the last of the video, I'm going to share some tips with you with which you can definitely score a band 8 in listening. Right? Okay, so here are my 5 Maple top tips for you. First thing is that you need to use pencil while answering your questions. That means while putting a tick mark in your question paper, it is very important that you use a pencil only. When you're using a pencil, you can just put a tick mark, or maybe you want to change your answer later, that you can do very easily, right? Also, to answer, to put your answers from the question paper to your answer sheet, also you must use a pencil only. That's the rule of your IELTS exam. The second most important thing here is that you should write all your answers in capital. Now you will ask me why. Because sometimes when we write in the small case or when we write in cursive, there are times when you write something else and I'll understand something else. Same way, the examiner might understand something else out of what you have written. Even if the answer is correct, there are chances that the examiner may give you a wrong answer. So if there is even a single possibility of that, then why to take the chance? Instead, you can answer it in all capitals to get the correct answer, right? Moving to the next one here, it says that read the question very carefully. Now, why do I say that? Because there are different types of questions when you will go through the sample test paper. You will see that there are different types of questions in the sense some of them would say that answer as true or false. Some of them would say that you need to fill in the blanks, or there are so many different types of questions that you need to answer where you have to just write the option, like you just have to write the correct answer option like A, B, or C. But some students write the complete answer, so that would obviously, even if you know the answer would be marked as wrong. So you need to read the question very carefully to understand what exactly are you expected to do. And uh, you know uh, even if I know the answer and I do it in the wrong way, will give me a 0 marks in that. So why to take any chance for that? You should read the question very carefully. Next is spellings are very important. Some of my students tell me that, ma'am, I understood what the speaker was saying, but I didn't know the spelling. So it is always advisable to work on your spelling before going in for your IELTS test, and also keep practicing of writing. Sometimes what happens, we know the spelling, but while writing we make some errors. So don't do that. Keep on answering when you're practicing the listening test. Many of my students tell me that, ma'am, I just listen and I know that what is the answer and I don't write it. So don't do that. I would suggest that you get the proper answer sheet, which is easily available on Google. We just take the printout of the listening test of IELTS answer sheet, and while you are preparing, write the answers in the answer sheet to get a you to get habitual of writing in that sheet, so that when the actual exam takes place, then there are no chances of committing any errors or mistakes, right? Last but not the least here is move on. So what does that mean? Most of the times the error occurs only when one of your question is left, while you were listening and you couldn't answer one of your question, then your mind goes blank. If that happens, then I am promising you that you're going to miss many of your future questions that are coming up. So don't do this blunder. If you do that, then I don't know how many wrongs you're going to have despite being well prepared. So, what you need to do is that even if you have left one answer unattempted, just leave it and move on. Move on to the next question and be equally confident that from now onwards, I am not going to leave any answer unattempted, right? So, do not get stuck to one question which you couldn't attempt. Just leave that question and move on. Maybe when you will get 10 minutes extra or 5 minutes extra to transfer your question answers to the answer sheet, then you can just go back to that question which you couldn't attempt and think about it, and maybe you can answer it then. But not in between the exam, not even during the time when they tell you that you have 30 seconds to check your answers. In that time, you must revise, or you must see the coming up questions instead of going back, because what has gone. If you'll go back and see, oh, my this question was wrong, or oh, I couldn't attempt this answer, this is going to be a hurdle in your future questions. So please friends, don't do that. Just move ahead and use whatever time you have during the exam to look at the questions which are coming up, and not to the questions which have gone by. I promise you, friends, if you're going to follow these maple top tips, nobody can stop you from achieving a good band or your desired band in IELTS listening exam, which is very, very important. So I hope, friends, that this video is helpful, some bit helpful to all of you. If it is helpful to all of you, do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It motivates me, and I bring in the authentic stuff from wherever I can research and from whatever knowledge I have. So I am going to share it with you, and also keep listening. Whoever tells you that you don't need to practice for a listening test is lying. If you don't listen, you will not be habitual of using listening to all the accents that may come in your exam, and you will not be able to understand the pronunciation, hence you will lose on your band scores. So don't do that mistake, friends. Keep practicing, as practice makes a man perfect. So thank you for watching today's video. Keep watching and keep sharing. Thank you. Bye.